Have you heard the explosive leaked audio in the Shannon Sharpe lawsuit? Well, baby, grab your coffee with me because we're about to hear it and dive into this lawsuit. And let me just say, trigger warning. Trigger warnings all over this video. What's up, people? Welcome back to the Parker's Couch. I know it has been a while since we have covered a lawsuit, and we're getting into it today. But before we get there, make sure that you do the things you like, you subscribe, you hit that notification bell so you know whenever videos are being posted, and you also share. I'm calling on you to make the next steps. Let's go ahead and keep the subscriber list going up. Let's get to 200. I want to see 200 in a couple of weeks. Let's go ahead and get there, and we can make that happen. All right. Shannon Sharpe is caught up in it again. I know you've been hearing about it. He is being accused of rape. Now, he has come out and denied everything. We now have elite audio from the Jane Doe and that camp. I'm going to play that audio right now so you can hear that. And then we're going to jump into the lawsuit because, I do love getting into lawsuits. Like I said, it's been a while, but we have this one and we are going to read through it. All right. So let's get it going first with the audio.
I don't know. Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what? What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a dick to me now, so
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
oh Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't.
You know what?
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
I don't think you have a choice in the matter. Okay. All right. That's the audio we hear. Do with that as you may. Keep that in mind as we go through this lawsuit and see what is going on. Okay. So I have the court document here. You know what's crazy before I jump into it? It's like Shannon Sharpe has been riding high for so long, and there's been little things and stuff here and there, but nothing, concrete to really, nothing that's like that big or worthy of a news story. Generally, everything has been pretty positive of what's going on. And, we were definitely all on the side from the Skip Bayless stuff and loving to see him get his own, to see a club Shay Shay doing what it's doing and it's been popping off. It's become like a cultural phenomenon and continues to rake rake out the numbers. But something in the back, I don't know if it's the pessimistic side of me. Something in the back of my mind is like, when is the shoe gonna fall? Like, when is there gonna be something big to happen? Because he just getting all this pile of money and all this admiration, all this stuff going up. And the T is, I'm gonna be careful how I say it, but we know who he likes to get down with. Now, do with that as you may, and that leads to things. Now, that might be some of my own upbringing and what's been taught to me, But that's what I think about whenever I first saw this lawsuit. Okay. But all right, we're going to get into it. And as always, if you haven't been through a lawsuit with me, I generally 95% of the time don't read them before I read them with you. And this is the case with this one because I want to have a natural reaction and kind of figure out things together as we go through it. And I know people have been hearing about it. I just don't know how much people have had time to really dive into the lawsuit of it. And it's not that long. This one is only 14 pages. We have definitely been through a lot longer. All right. Introduction. A woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. Absolutely. Defendant Shannon Sharpe, a man who is accustomed to getting what he wants, read, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, more than 30 years younger, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, well, we got audio. Sharp refused to accept the answer no and raped plaintiff, despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no. Lord, they got me sipping already. Okay. Defendant Shannon Sharpe is a 56-year-old former NFL superstar. He claims to be one of the most successful sports media personalities in the country. I don't think that's a claim. He is. Plaintiff is a young woman in her early 20s. In 2023, Plaintiff was working out at a gym in Los Angeles, California, when Sharp approached her for the first time. Previously, Doe, and she's Jane Doe. So, and you're here as Plaintiff and Jane Doe. Doe had noticed Sharp watching her doing her workouts. At this time, Doe was just 19 years old. Now that's creepy. That's hella creepy. At the time, she did not know who he was, only that he was another older man oogling her at the gym. Doe could tell Sharp was much older than her. She found him physically intimidating. Eventually, he introduced himself. At his determined insistence, she gave him her number. Over the next couple of weeks, Sharp incessantly pursued plaintiff. He constantly approached her at the gym and attempted to contact her frequently with phone calls and text messages asking to meet up. Unwilling to take no for an answer, eventually plaintiff gave in and agreed to meet with Sharp outside of the gym. However, before doing so, Sharp demanded that Doe sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, something plaintiff found a bit concerning. She wondered why Sharp was so insistent on her signing an NDA. She refused. Despite his repeated efforts to get her to sign, she refused time and again. Eventually, he dropped the issue and invited her to the house. What followed was the beginning of a rocky consensual relationship that lasted nearly 2 years. The relationship was very unequal. Sharp is more than 30 years older and is considerably wealthier, is physically much larger, and exponentially stronger. Sharp is a famous Sharp is famous and has power. Plaintiff and Sharp saw each other on his terms and on his schedule as often as 4 times a week. Over time, Plaintiff began to see Sharp's true nature. She found him to be dishonest about his whereabouts. He would lie about seeing other women while insisting to her that she and he were exclusive. He often manipulated her, at times being sweet and loving to get what he wanted, and at other times being angry and aggressive to achieve his goals. She discovered over time that Sharp was extremely emotional and possessed an uncontrollable temper. He displayed the characteristics of a true narcissist. He wielded his power, his influence, his celebrity to control plaintiff and get exactly what he wanted, whenever he wanted, and all the while jealously guarding what he considered this for himself. By October 2024, Sharp's behavior had grown progressively worse, beyond anything plaintiff had experienced with him before. At this point, he was insistent upon recording their sexual activities. sometimes without her knowledge. This is sounding a little ditty-ish in some ways. Sharp was also sharing the videos with others without her permission or knowledge. Sharp would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would make no other man want her. By this point, Sharp was no longer able to credibly maintain the relationship was exclusive. He had at this point accidentally or purposely to advance his career went live on Instagram while having sex with another woman. Ooh, y'all remember that? That video that was released, I think in that hotel room with Shannon Sharpe and a woman. But at that time, I thought it was saying like he didn't have a girlfriend or something. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but I do remember that video being leaked. And so all the time, he apparently had a girlfriend this whole time while that was happening as well. Sharp flew into fits of anger when plaintiff noted his infidelity to their relationship, called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once been manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharp even figured out how to get in Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Ooh, that's Sharp made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharp would get what he wanted when he wanted. In October 2024, Shannon Sharp violently sexually assaulted and anally raped. In October 2024, Shannon Sharp violently sexually assaulted and anally raped plaintiff two different times in Las Vegas, Nevada, blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. He did it again in January. Plaintiff left Nevada to temporarily escape defendant Shannon Sharp. She now seeks justice through this action and other means. Whew. Plaintiff seeks compensatory and punitive damages in this matter in excess of $50 million. Wow, before we jump on anywhere else, that was a lot in the introduction. I would make sure I start off this with trigger warnings. Maybe put trigger warnings all on the screen with reading this. Um, and so just for a minute, all right, how do I want to say this? Whenever we come to the Diddy case, I had to keep making sure I'm saying I'm not victim blaming. This is horrendous, horrific. No one deserves any of this happening to them. I'm just gonna say, ladies, believe yourself, believe the signs that you feel. Even if this comes out not to be true, this message still applies. If you feel something is shady or not right, trust those instincts. If someone is asking you to sign an NDA before and you don't know who this person is, research and think about why this is happening. Think about that age level and that gap. All this that it's a lot going on. Don't be afraid to talk to someone else to get advice in these situations as well. Just believe yourself. I just see so many signs. So many signs just the way that this introduction is written. Why nothing should have been pursued consensually in this matter. Especially and annoying. That's one thing I can't hate with a guy like continually hounds a woman. Shoot, it could be a man too. The gay guys do it just the same. Continually hound. Okay. No means no. If somebody doesn't want to be with you, they don't want to be with you, move on. That's that's ridiculous. If this is true, allegedly, that hounding makes no sense. And remember, everything is alleged here. We are, we may be a court of public opinion, but public opinion is not fact. And just because it's written there doesn't mean that it's absolutely fact what happened. All right. Now we're talking about the plaintiffs. We have Jane Doe, as I said before, individual residing in Clark County, Nevada. We have Shannon Sharpe as the defendant, individual residing in Clark County, Nevada. I didn't know that's where he was. He may be served at his residence, and then they get the information there. Jersey. All right, we're going through those things. Let's get to the factual allegations and all claims. This is the juicy stuff that we want to see. So, defendant Shannon Sharpe is a former NFL superstar and well known sports media personality. After a 14-season career in the NFL, he is considered by some to be one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion and was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame. Upon retirement, Shannon Sharpe transitioned into sports broadcasting, quickly achieving success in the industry. Sharpe spent several years at CBS Sports before moving to Fox, where over a decade he built the reputation for his strong opinions and hot takes. In 2023, Sharpe joined ESPN, where he remains employed today. In addition to working at ESPN's First Take, Sharpe hosts his widely followed podcast interviewing high-profile athletes, entertainers, public figures. All this is talk about Sharpe's legacy, what he's done. Let's skip down. All right. According to the New York lawsuit, Sharpe forcefully subdued the plaintiff in. Oh, wait. In that case, oh, all right. So Sharpe has a documented history of abusing and mistreating women. As an example, he is currently a defendant in a lawsuit before the Supreme Court of New York. Oh, I might have to look this one up too, y'all. Facing claims from a woman of intentionally infliction of emotional distress, among other allegations. Many of the factual allegations in the New York case are eerily similar to his actions toward plaintiff here. I did not know. According to the New York lawsuit, Sharpe forcefully subdued the plaintiff in that case, forcing her to her knees and subjecting her to non consensual oral sex, despite her repeated protests. When she resisted, he persisted. He would not take no for an answer. According to the New York lawsuit, the plaintiff therein feared for her safety, just as the plaintiff fears for her safety now. The New York lawsuit further alleges that Sharpe escalated to non consensual vaginal penetration, all while telling her that he would make it so no other man would want her. That's the same thing that they said he says here. These words are apparently not a one-time thing. Plaintiff herein has heard Sharpe say those the same exact words. Okay, now they're talking about the live stream incident in September 2024. Sharpe live streamed himself on accident having sex with the woman. Upon information and belief, he did so on purpose to seek media exposure and to attract social media views and attention. To live stream himself, he would have to have deliberately swiped right on Instagram to activate the live feed. Sharpe claims it was accidental. However, discreetly recording sex without the partner's knowledge is something he's known to do. He did so with the plaintiff herein. Now, this adds a new wrinkle to that. I remember that being a debate. Like, how can you accidentally go on live on Instagram? Anybody that's ever gone live on Instagram, no, it's pretty hard to do accidentally. That's a lot of press buttons in your pocket or something like that that just has to have the right timing. So that is, yeah, it was a little unbelievable. Plaintiff discovered that Sharpe had been secretly recording their sexual encounters without her consent. When she confronted him, he summarily dismissed her concerns, claiming the videos were for his own personal use. That too was a lie. Upon information and belief, Sharpe on multiple occasions shared the recordings with his friends and associates. At one point, he even forced plaintiff to have sex with him while FaceTiming one of his childhood friends named Bucket. Now, I believe that he's a country boy, so this Bucket. But are you serious? All right, whenever plaintiff would get up the courage to object to Sharpe's outrageous conduct, which was not often, he would aggressively and angrily put her back in her place. Shannon Sharpe isn't just a sports icon, he's something far worse. He's a flawed, narcissistic individual who has spent years using his fame, power, and influence to manipulate, control, subjugate, and violate women. With this suit, plaintiff intends to put an end to the egregious conduct. All right. Y'all, that's a lot to just sit there and process. FaceTiming your childhood friend to watch you. There's a lot of Diddy similarities within this lawsuit. I don't Do not be out there recording people, y'all, without their permission. Please don't do that. Please, 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 please don't do that. All right, the beginning of the consensual but deeply manipulative relationship. So we established how they met in the gym. They're rehashing some of that. They say one day, as the plaintiff finished a set and turned around, she found Sharp standing inches behind her. That is signs. Sharp told her he had noticed her at the gym and wondered why she had not introduced herself. Because I didn't want to. This was the first time they spoke. Plaintiff at the time, who had just turned 20 years old, was caught off guard and was face to face with the 54-year-old man she had never met. Plaintiff did not know at the time who Shannon Sharpe was. She did not know what to say or how to feel about his advances. During their first conversation, Sharp proposed a challenge, a competition to see who could lean out faster. The prize, if plaintiff won, he would buy her fake tits. Okay, this is weird. Plaintiff was stunned. The implication that she needed or wanted such a thing was wildly inappropriate. Hearing it from a stranger more than 30 years her senior made it even more disturbing. This is not even a sign anymore. This is like the biggest hole. This is a galaxy warning you right here. Throughout their subsequent encounters at the gym, Sharp made sure plaintiff understood who he was, a celebrity and TV personality. Also, if something like this is happening to you, I want people, women, whoever, to feel comfortable getting someone else involved. Talk to the staff. Let them know how uncomfortable you're feeling, if that is the case in situations like this. Over the following week, Sharp made himself unavoidable. He was at the gym when she was. He constantly called and texted, demanding she come to his Beverly Glen mansion. Plaintiff repeatedly declined and made up excuses to make her seem too busy to see him, but he would not stop. Sharp would not be deterred. Eventually, plaintiff gave in, but before she could meet him outside of the gym, Sharp made another demand. She had to sign a NDA. He refused to explain why, would not let her see a copy of the proposed agreement. Oh, hell no. He simply insisted she sign one. The plaintiff refused. After multiple attempts, when he realized she would not cooperate, he finally dropped the issue. All right. Reveal from the start the violent, aggressive, and controlling nature of Shannon Sharpe. The first night plaintiff went to Sharpe's house, the experience was unlike anything she had dealt with before, disturbing, unsettling, and given his subsequent conduct very illuminating. When plaintiff arrived at the house, Sharp opened the door to his Beverly Glen mansion without a word. No greeting, no acknowledgement, no small talk. Without so much as looking at the plaintiff, he simply turned around from her at the opening of the door and walked upstairs. Turn around and walk out. Okay. Plaintiff hesitated but followed, as she did not know what else to do or where else to go. Home. That's where you go. When they reached the bedroom, Sharp pointed to the bed before disappearing into the bathroom and shutting the door behind him. He still had not said a word. Plaintiff sat on the bed, waiting, unsure of what to expect or if she should leave. Roughly 5 minutes later, he finally emerged, but still he said nothing. Instead, he turned off all the lights and laid down on his bed. Okay, this is so weird. Plaintiff, uncomfortable and unsure what to do, lay down as well. For roughly 10 minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, without warning, Sharp placed his hands on plaintiff's neck from behind, pressed his erect penis against her body, and said the first words of the night. I knew from the first time I saw you that I was going to fuck you. Doe and Sharp then engaged in oral sex. As they did so, Doe at some point realized Sharp was using his phone. He was apparently recording her. Plaintiff could see that she was trying to be discreet, but it was obvious, could see that he was trying to be discreet, but it was obvious what he was doing. She said nothing, scared to confront him from what he might do or say. When it ended, he rolled over and went to sleep. At some point later during the night, Sharp woke up, grabbed Plaintiff by her vagina, and began having sex with her. Oh wow, she was there during the night, and then the next morning, Sharp woke up at roughly 4 a.m. to shoot a media segment for sports television. He woke Plaintiff up as well and told her that she needed to leave, but he informed her that she had to be back by 9 p.m. exactly. Wait, huh? Now be back. Yeah, I am beyond confused. I am so in confusion right now. I'm so in confusion. All right. The following night, plaintiff arrived at Sharp's house approximately at 9:05 p.m., just 5 minutes past the time he had demanded. The moment he opened the door, plaintiff experienced his rage for the first time. Sharp immediately launched into a verbal assault. He screamed at plaintiff, beating her, berating her for what felt like hours. He accused her of disrespecting him, wasting his time, and warned that if she wanted to be with the Shannon Sharpe, she would have to learn obedience. Plaintiff was terrified and feared for her physical safety. Still enraged, Sharp turned off the lights, grabbed her neck, and just like the night before, began having sexual intercourse with her. The cycle of control, fear, and submission became routine. Yelling at her, controlling her, forcibly grabbing her by the neck when he got upset, saying he was going to kill her, and asserting dominance became the norm. Over the next year and a half, plaintiffs saw Sharp at his house as often as 4 times a week. Sharp continued to treat her like an object. Well, were y'all actually boyfriend and girlfriend? No. Okay. He continued to control her, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. He demanded complete control over her time and body, expecting her to be at his house on his schedule, at his command, whenever he called. The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff just as he had from the beginning. One time specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in the room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff tried to share her location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharp saw her doing this. The moment he realized what she was doing, he grabbed her by the neck and told her, "If you ever do that again, I will fucking kill you." Summer 2024, Sharp's control turns abusive. The relationship becomes fearful and non-consensual. Is this a relationship? I'm still really confused, y'all. I don't know what this is. Sharp's aggression and rage continued to escalate to the point that plaintiff's friends began to fear for her safety. So I guess she was confiding in friends in somewhat. For example, when plaintiff was with her friends, they could hear Sharp yelling at her over the phone. He would ask her if she was safe and if she was okay. In the summer of 2024, Plaintiff and Sharp each moved to Las Vegas for their own reasons. Sharp liked to say that the plaintiff followed him to Vegas, but that too is a lie. Once in Vegas, Sharp again insisted the plaintiff sign an NDA. Well, how did y'all both end up in Vegas? I got questions. She refused, and again he persisted, but after enough resistance, he let it go and continued seeing her multiple times a week. His behavior did not change. He remained erratic, controlling, and verbally abusive, all the while telling the plaintiff that he was committed to a sexually exclusive relationship with her. Then in September 2024, Sharp humiliated plaintiff. He live streamed himself having sex with another woman we talked about on Instagram for over 1.1 million followers to see. He later made sure that the incident he later made jest of the incident on his podcast, Club Shay Shay, and the show Nightcap that he has with Chad Ochocinco. But for plaintiff, it was anything but funny. He had repeatedly assured her that they were in an exclusive relationship, albeit unhealthy and abusive. This was a lie that not only hurt her emotionally, but it made her fear for her sexual health and the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. Well, you should have been worried about that even before hearing that. Absolutely. I don't know how that really adds to. I mean, think about it. If this man is doing all that, you're gonna believe that he's telling the truth, that he's exclusive and all these things, and the way. Mm-mm, absolutely not. Always be worried about that. At that point, plaintiff began to pull away from Sharp. She stopped answering his phone calls and stopped telling him where she was and when he would demand to know. This is interesting to me. All right, I'm gonna save it until I finish this. Plaintiff's feeble attempts at freedom and independence further upset Sharp. He began flooding her phone with calls demanding to know where she was. He called relentlessly multiple times per hour. The harassment became so unbearable. Plaintiff frequently began leaving Nevada. Determined to cut off communication, resist his efforts to control her, and attempt to reclaim some control over her life. It took courage for the plaintiff to make this effort. She remained terrified even though when she was thousands of miles away. Sharp simply would not accept independence or freedom from the plaintiff. In October 2024, just after the plaintiff returned from Europe, Sharp's behavior became more angry, aggressive, and now violent. All right, so we got two more, and this is the end of the claims here. So on October 6, 2024, Sharp sexually assaults and rapes plaintiff and threatens, "I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." So on October 6, 2024, the plaintiff was working out of a Nevada gym, following her usual routine. As she worked out, she saw Sharp aggressively approaching her. She could tell by his look and the way he moved quickly towards her that he was furious for having been ignored. As soon as he got close, he told her, "Sit the fuck down, and I'm going to kill you." Plaintiff refused. "I don't want to talk to you. You cheated on me." His response was dismissive and controlling as usual. "You don't have a choice." Sharp demanded that they talk in private. Again, plaintiff told him no. She made it clear she did not want to talk to him. Be alone with him or want him come into her home. But Sharp didn't care. He never took no for an answer. Sharp forced plaintiff under threat to get into his car and go to her house. Once Sharp was inside her apartment, plaintiff tried to keep the conversation in the living room, but Sharp refused. He demanded they go to the bedroom. She said no. He didn't listen nor did he care. Once inside the bedroom, Sharp grabbed her from behind and forcibly positioned her to perform oral sex. He held her in place and then forced her to begin performing. He became even angrier and said, "You disrespected me so much, I'm going to punish this asshole. I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." Plaintiff at this point was crying and sobbing. Now, this is a lot. This is a lot. This is a whole lot. Tears streamed down her face as Sharp repositioned her and took her from behind and inserted his penis into her anus. As he forcibly anally raped her, he said, "Turn around and look at me." Sharp grabbed her head, forcing her to look at him as she sobbed. He said at that point, "Look at this. Look at my arm. I've got chills. That's how good that is." Shannon Sharpe forced himself on the plaintiff and raped her, despite her sobbing in agony as it happened. He told her in the moment as she was crying that the experience was so good it was giving him chills. Sharpe's behavior demonstrates that he believed plaintiff to be his personal property, possessed and owned by him. He also believed that the laws did not apply to him, that he could take what he wanted and that no one could or would stop him. He was and is wrong. Oh, God. This is the last one, y'all. This is the last one. If you're still with me and able to make it through this, because this is nothing like this has happened to me in my life, but this is even triggering for me, and nothing like this has even happened. This is a lot of these claims here. We'll make sure we put that allegedly. On January 2025, Sharpe sexually assaults and rapes plaintiff, ignoring her screams and refusing to wear a condom. So on January 2nd, 2025, Sharpe told the plaintiff he wanted to see her. Sharpe persisted and reminded plaintiff that he had a combined Christmas and birthday gift to give her. As he previously promised her a gift, she ultimately allowed him to come over to her apartment. She regrets that decision. Once inside her apartment, Sharpe began undressing plaintiff firmly, stated multiple times that they would not have sex without protection, demanding that he wear a condom. She knew that in the past he refused to ever use condoms and believed that her demand would stop him from having sex with her. But although he refused to use a condom, he still insisted on sex. She tried to resist him. She screamed. She had already expressed concerns for her safety, knowing that he had been involved with other women, increasing the risk of transmitting the disease. The more she begged, Sharpe became more aggressive and made it clear he would not wear a condom. He was going to have his way with her. Sharpe grabbed her, pulling her around and positioning her to perform oral sex, which lasted for roughly 2 minutes. Then Sharpe repositioned her and roughly forced himself inside her. Plaintiff never stopped demanding and begging that he stop or put on a condom. Sharpe ignored her. As soon as he penetrated her, plaintiff screamed and sobbed. Her cries for help did nothing to stop Sharpe. The assault lasted roughly 10 minutes, ended only when Sharpe ejaculated inside her. Plaintiff cried and begged repeatedly for him to stop. Plaintiff left Nevada. After the assault, plaintiff brings these causes of action in this honorable court to recover damages as outlined below. It is imperative that Shannon Sharpe and those like him are held accountable for their actions to prevent them from engaging in further sexual assault and sodomy and harming future victims. So we have assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. We have intentional infliction of emotional distress, demand for a jury trial, general damages in the sum in excess of 10 million, special damages in the sum of excess of 10 million, punitive damages in the sum of excess of 20 million, and statutory penalties in the sum of excess of 10 million. Y'all, I don't even know what to say right now. My coffee has become iced coffee because I was just so caught up in that and just absolutely just devastated. If this is true, like if something like this, all this stuff is true, throw that man under the jail. For all the questions that I have, now I do have questions. For all the questions that I have, if any of this is true, throw that man under the jail, never to see the light of day. If any of that is true, it's just so many things that don't make sense about how we got here. Because in my brain, and y'all help me understand. In my brain, I understand being like forced and I know that happens. And I know it happens way too often than that needs to. I think in my brain, I can rationalize it more whether someone is under threat, under like a gun, or like is there some kind of like really physical threat in the nature and your force. if you're a sex worker or something in your force, or if you've already known somebody and there's like a change, or you're in a relationship, you're in something established, and then there's a change, and then that happens. But to start off from a stranger and someone you don't even know, I just don't know how we even got here. I That part is really hard, and I'm trying. That part is really hard for me to understand and comprehend. And maybe that's an age thing, being 19 going on 20. Um, you feel trapped in that situation, I guess, some kind of way, or don't know how to. So help me out, ladies, because that's got to be a scary situation. See, I can't expect. I can't relate to that. I don't know what that's like to be a young woman approached by an older man that you don't want, and you feel like there's no autonomy, no control you have in the situation. Because I still don't know how the number exchange even happened, how the showing at the house even happened, how going up the stairs when no one said a word and just left the door open for you to walk up, and you walk upstairs. Like, but I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to victim blame, but those are just decisions that I think naturally come up whenever we hear cases like this. Like, the common person is going to have these decisions. And I know if something like this is true, that's something probably a victim would be beating themselves up about how did I allow this to happen? And maybe that's something to be examined through therapy, which would need a lot of it if this is the case and all this that happened. I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever I first, before, because I told you I didn't read anything at all, but like whenever I was kind of like hearing the situation, I was thinking in my head, like, this is a secret kind of fetish of both parties, of like the woman and the man. And then maybe either A, something got out of control in a fetish and it started going too far and turned into these things. And then maybe it's like an insecurity of expressing these fetishes. So then you try to rearrange even the start of the situation to make it make sense, to make yourself look better. That's before I read any details. And I was thinking about what could have happened. So that's was one thought of like a fetish thing. Another thought was just like there was just you're trying to make someone look as like you don't have to add on anything to make them look horrible in a sexual assault or rape situation, but it could just be add on things to just make them seem even more crazy, and then to paint yourself in a light. Um, and then also the money grab. Of course, he's a popular man. That's always a thought and stuff in these cases. But it's just horrible. I fear. I empathize with victims in situations like this because it is so difficult. And I'm not saying that she's not a real victim, because but this is all still alleged right now, court of public opinion. But for the real victims and stuff that we know that aren't believed and things like that, I just know that it is it's got to be such a hard thing to deal with. But this case is a lot, y'all. I just want to know what y'all think. Be as honest as you want to be. I'm all about honesty and keeping it real, as far as what we think in these situations. But I just want to say this is all the court of public opinion. All this is alleged in the lawsuit. My final stance: if all this is true, throw that person under the jail. These are going to be some things. Now, I think that lawsuit that he has going on may help. I think that audio, but let's talk about that audio real quick too. Does the audio completely help? While it was crazy what Sharp was saying, the response on the other end, though, was something like, I don't know if I felt fear or felt, It was awkward. It was like really awkward. All part of it is like, was it baiting because you know he's gonna talk like this and say some things? Does this really bother you? I don't. It just wasn't like the normal response I would think on the other end, and the way it just moved, it was weird. It was just really strange. So I don't know how much weight that's gonna hold. We're gonna see. So just as I was going to publish this video out for you, I saw that Shannon Sharpe had a response to the audio. So now I'm gonna play that response for you in case you haven't heard it yet, and let's see what we think about it.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
You heard it there from the mouth of Shannon Sharpe. Now, I know a lot of times I want to say in these cases, people like people to stay quiet and let things play out. I prefer people to speak out because if I'm innocent, you're going to know it. You are absolutely going to know that I'm innocent. And Shannon Sharpe is pointing out that how Tony Busby, he says, comes after black men. We know how he came after Jay-Z. Um, we see that he's talking about Gabby, I guess it's the person here. Saying how it's a money grab, OnlyFans thing. They're working together trying to get this 50 mil or more. And he's about real talk and honesty. And he's out here for his family and friends. And he's getting ahead of a sex tape that's apparently going to be released. Or I think it's at a 30-second sex tape. And he's saying like it should be 10 minutes to play the whole thing. That's going to be, I guess, edited or just the pieces sent out to look like it supports the case that they are presenting. And we know that court of public opinion is very strong, but you have to deal with actual law whenever it comes to these things to see what happens. I wonder if y'all think this is all going to be pretty damaging at all to Shannon's career, or will he survive this? Do you feel like he's going to come out on top, but nobody's even going to really remember this in the end? I'm curious how this is going to shake out. You know, I don't like to say that I guess I say I've been disappointed before, so I don't stick my neck out there for anyone. I would just say that. But what I will say is that Shannon does present himself to be an out front, outspoken, tell the truth man. Because he says some things sometimes you're like, why are you sharing this? Or why are you even like, why? Like, and this doesn't make you look good, but you're sharing it. So there's a element of me that kind of has more belief coming from him just because of who he is or who he has shown us to be. But like I said, I don't put no 100% behind anybody because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. There's just some parts. It was a lot in that lawsuit we went over. And there are some parts that just don't add up to me at all. I'm just being straight up honest that I feel like are going to be some things to answer for in court to really prove this force at coercion, feeling like you had to do all these things, XYZ, if these things actually transpired. And if they did, were these things consensual or were they truly not consensual? So it's going to be a lot of hearsay, she say things. One of the elements that I think about for that case, it was odd to me in a case where it was like, oh, I'm forced. I can't get away from this. I can't do anything. But the straw that broke the camel's back here was that he apparently cheated. And then all of a sudden, it was like, I can move. I don't know. That just didn't really add up to me. It really didn't make sense in the context of the way that the lawsuit was going and was being read. So we'll see. It's a lot. This is a lot. This is a lot. I just want to know y'all thoughts. But there we have it, the Shannon Sharpe lawsuit. Now you know the tea and what's really going on in there as you're looking at all the recaps and everything of it. That's the court documents as written on 420. And that's all I got for you. All right, check out the couch for more things coming your way, and talk to you next time, people.